From a flicker of candlelight in 1789 to the glare of modern screens in the West Wing, every president has held the pen. Executive orders not passed by Congress, but etched into law by command. Some shaped history. Some sparked controversy. Others were forgotten. Until now. This is where we break them down. Every signature, every shift in power, every consequence still felt today. From Washington to Biden, welcome to Executive Order Watch.
Democracy, we live for it. For democracy, we fight for it. For democracy, we've died for it. And for democracy, we watch it. This is Executive Order
1995, it was a year of reckoning for our politics, our people, and our president. The Cold War was behind us. The internet was just beginning to stretch its arms into everyday life. And President Bill Clinton, well, he was no longer the new guy. He was now the one being tested by Congress, by the world, and by the American people. 1995 wasn't just another year. It was a turning point. The Oklahoma City bombing shook the nation to its core, the deadliest act of domestic terrorism in American history at that time. It wasn't an attack from a foreign power. It was a mirror showing us the dark potential of our own anger turned inward. Clinton stood before the wreckage and before the grieving families, and he delivered what may have been one of the most presidential speeches of his life. Calm, compassionate, unifying. But this was also the year of confrontation. The federal government shut down twice as Clinton went head-to-head with Speaker Newt Gingrich and the new Republican majority in Congress. It was a clash of visions, Clinton's centrist pragmatism versus Gingrich's contract with America. But Clinton didn't blink, and when the dust settled, many Americans saw him not as weakened, but resolute. He governed with a blend of policy precision and political instinct. He moved toward the middle when the nation demanded it, but he never stopped pressing forward on issues like healthcare reform, technology, education, and financial modernization. This was also the year the World Trade Organization, WTO, was officially established, a sign of globalization rising, and with it, the seeds of economic anxiety that still ripple through our country today. And while the Dayton Accords brought peace to Bosnia after years of bloody war, here at home, the Million-Man March brought black men from across America to the steps of the Capitol, seeking healing, dignity, and change. Bill Clinton didn't govern from the sidelines in 1995. He was in the ring, sometimes bruised, sometimes bold, but always moving, always calculating his next move in a political climate that was as cold as it was combustible. Now, what Clinton didn't always get credit for were the executive orders he signed during this storm of a year. But let me tell you something. Some of those orders carried more weight than the headlines at the time gave them, because behind the camera flashes and budget fights, behind the sound bites and shutdowns, the pen was still moving. And next, we're going to take a closer look at what that pen put into motion. We'll break down the key executive orders of 1995. The ones that quietly shaped the future, even as the spotlight was elsewhere. Stay with me. We're just getting started. Executive Order 12,945. Amendment to Executive Order number 12,640 on January 20th, 1995. Executive Order 12,946. President's Advisory Board on Arms Proliferation Policy on January 20th, 1995. Executive Order 12,947 prohibiting transactions with terrorists who threaten to disrupt the Middle East peace process on January 23, 1995. Executive Order 12,948, Amendment to Executive Order number 12,898 on January 30th, 1995. Executive Order 12,949, Foreign Intelligence Physical Searches on February 9, 1995. Executive Order 12,950, establishing an emergency board to investigate a dispute between Metro-North Commuter Railroad and its employees, represented by certain labor organizations on February 22, 1995. Executive Order 12,951, release of imagery acquired by space-based National Intelligence Reconnaissance Systems on February 22, 1995. Executive Order 12,952, amendment to Executive Order Number 12,950 on February 24, 1995. Executive Order 12,953, actions required of all executive agencies to facilitate payment of child support on February 27, 1995. Executive Order 12,954, ensuring the economical and efficient administration and completion of federal government contracts on March 8, 1995. Executive Order 12,955, nuclear cooperation with Euratom on March 9, 1995. Executive Order 12,956, Executive Order 12,956 of March 13, 1995 on March 13, 1995. Executive Order 12,957, prohibiting certain transactions with respect to the development of Iranian petroleum resources on March 15, 1995. Executive Order 12,958, classified national security information on April 17, 1995. Executive Order 12,959, prohibiting certain transactions with respect to Iran on May 6, 1995. Executive Order 12,960, amendments to the Manual for Courts-Martial, United States, 1984 on May 12, 1995. Executive Order 12,961, Presidential Advisory Committee on Gulf War Veterans Illnesses on May 26, 1995. Executive Order 12,962, Recreational Fisheries on June 7, 1995. Executive Order 12,964, Presidential Advisory Council on HIV/AIDS on June 14, 1995. Executive Order 12,965, Commission on United States Pacific Trade and Investment Policy on June 21, 1995. Executive Order 12,965, further amendment to Executive Order Number 12,852 on June 27, 1995. Executive Order 12,966, Foreign Disaster Assistance on July 14, 1995. Executive Order 12,967, establishing an emergency board to investigate disputes between Metro-North Commuter Railroad and its employees, represented by certain labor organizations on July 31, 1995. Executive Order 12,968, access to classified information on August 2, 1995. Executive Order 12,969, Federal Acquisition and Community Right to Know on August 8, 1995. Executive Order 12,970, further amendment to Executive Order Number 12,864 on September 14, 1995. Executive Order 12,971, amendment to Executive Order Number 12,425 on September 15, 1995. Executive Order 12,972, amendment to Executive Order Number 12,958 on September 18, 1995. Executive Order 12,973, amendment to Executive Order Number 12901 on September 27, 1995. Executive Order 12974, continuance of certain federal advisory committees on September 29, 1995. Executive Order 12,975, protection of human research subjects and creation of National Bioethics Advisory Commission on October 3, 1995. Executive Order 12,976, compensation practices of government corporations on October 5, 1995. Executive Order 12,977, Interagency Security Committee on October 19, 1995. Executive Order 12,978 blocking assets and prohibiting transactions with significant narcotics traffickers on October 21st, 1995, Executive Order 12,979 agency procurement protests on October 25th, 1995, Executive Order 12,980 further amendment to Executive Order number 12,852 as amended on November 17, 1995, Executive Order 12,981 Administration of Export Controls on December 5, 1995, Executive Order 12,982 ordering the selected reserve of the armed forces to active duty on December 8, 1995, Executive Order 12,983 Amendment to Executive Order number 12,871 on December 21st, 1995. Executive Order 12,984 adjustments of certain rates of pay and allowances on December 28th, 1995.
Let's talk about where we deliver happiness one slice at a time. What's your craving today?
Yeah, hi. Is Seymour there?
Oh, Seymour. I think he might be busy making our special pies. But hey, why not swing by the pizzeria? We've got a pie with your name on it. Anything else I can help you with?
I was looking for Seymour Butts.
Ah, I see. Well, if you're looking for Seymour Butts, he might be hiding behind a pepperoni slice. Anything else I can do for you today?
No, that's it.
Hi, I'm Terrence, a marketing professional with a passion for helping your business grow smarter and faster. Here at Da Bomb Digital Media, based right here in Atlanta, Georgia, we specialize in bringing your vision to life. Whether you're launching your first website or reimagining your entire digital presence, we've got you covered. From modern website design and search engine optimization to setting up your own AI-powered agency tools, we deliver innovative solutions that keep you ahead of the curve. Ready to unlock your business's full potential? Let's build something remarkable together. For more information, visit our YouTube channel. Just search Da Bomb Digital Media on YouTube and start exploring tips, success stories, and everything you need to elevate your brand.
Let's talk about 1995, a year of contrast, of both catastrophe and clarity. And right there in the center of it all was President Bill Clinton, guiding the nation through trials that tested his leadership and sharpened his instincts. The headlines were powerful. The Oklahoma City bombing, the deadliest act of domestic terrorism in American history up to that point. 2 federal government shutdowns triggered by fierce gridlock between Clinton and the new Republican Congress. The Million Man March, a peaceful call for accountability, unity, and self-determination among black men in America. And the birth of something we barely understood at the time, the World Trade Organization, signaling the dawn of true globalization. Through it all, Clinton didn't just speak, he governed, quietly, strategically, sometimes through compromise, sometimes through confrontation, and sometimes with the stroke of a pen. In 1995, President Clinton issued 40 executive orders, each one tied to the story of that year. Some of those actions were bold, like EO 12,959, tightening sanctions on Iran after concerns about terrorism and nuclear ambitions. Others focused inward, like EO 12,968, which redefined how our government handled access to classified information, a move that reshaped national security protocols well into the 21st century. He signed EO 12,958, reforming how we manage and declassify sensitive national security documents. Transparency, control, accountability, all updated for a new era. In the wake of Oklahoma City, Clinton took steps to harden federal buildings and expand intelligence sharing. That's where EO 12,977, establishing the Interagency Security Committee, came in, a lesser-known but lasting reform that continues to protect our federal workforce to this day. He also tackled environmental and trade issues. EO 12,969 pushed federal contractors to report their chemical use, aligning procurement with the public's right to know. EO 12,962 made recreational fishing a national priority, perhaps a small stroke, but one that recognized how policy reaches even into our most personal spaces. And let's not forget the global chessboard. Clinton used EO 12947 to freeze assets of groups that threatened the Middle East peace process, an early signal that terrorism wasn't just a regional issue, but a global threat that required financial warfare as well as diplomacy. Still, not every order landed cleanly. Some lacked follow-through, others clashed with Congress or sparked legal pushback. But what Clinton demonstrated in 1995 was that the presidency wasn't just about speeches, it was about action, especially when the legislative branch was at war with itself. Now here's the thing. These executive orders didn't always make front-page news, but they shaped policy, protected lives, shifted priorities, and in more ways than one, they're still affecting us today. So as we look back at 1995, it's not just the events we should study. It's the responses, the architecture of governance, the quiet work of keeping the machine running while the spotlight pointed elsewhere. And now it's time to dig deeper, because next we're going to take a closer look at the top 10 executive orders of 1995, the ones that truly moved the needle, for better or for worse. Stay with me. It was a turning point for our country, for the world, and for the presidency of Bill Clinton. This was the year when tragedy struck our own soil. The Oklahoma City bombing, 168 lives lost. A direct attack on our federal government by one of our own. It changed the way we thought about terrorism forever. And President Clinton responded not just with words, but with action. Through executive power, he signed EO 12977, creating the Interagency Security Committee, which began the hard, quiet work of fortifying our federal buildings. That committee still protects our public servants today. But 1995 was more than just grief. It was about resistance and resilience. Clinton's administration faced a historic standoff with a Republican-controlled Congress. The result? 2 government shutdowns. That's when Clinton turned to the power of executive orders to keep the machine moving while the Capitol stood frozen. He signed EO 12981 to update export controls, safeguarding sensitive technologies while supporting global trade, a smart move in the face of growing economic competition. And speaking of trade, 1995 was the birth year of the World Trade Organization, WTO. Clinton embraced the shift while also using EO 12959 and EO 12957 to tighten sanctions on Iran, responding to concerns about terrorism and nuclear ambitions. Those sanctions, the framework he established, have shaped U.S. foreign policy on Iran for nearly 3 decades. He also made transparency a national priority. With EO 12958, Clinton revolutionized how we handle classified national security information. He created timelines for automatic declassification, opening doors to historians, journalists, and watchdogs. That same year, EO 12968 overhauled the process for granting access to classified information, increasing accountability and rooting out vulnerabilities, something we still depend on today in the age of cyber espionage and insider threats. And while many executive orders focused on defense and foreign policy, others touched people right where they lived. EO 12963 established the Presidential Advisory Council on HIV/AIDS, giving a permanent voice to those battling the epidemic. EO 12969 empowered communities to track chemical usage by federal contractors, helping everyday Americans understand what was happening in their own backyards. These weren't symbolic gestures. They were structural shifts, small policy gears turning in the background to strengthen the republic. Global events of 1995, the World Trade Organization, WTO, officially launched Accelerating Globalization. The Bosnian War moved toward peace with the signing of the Dayton Accords in December. Israel's Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated, sending shockwaves through the Middle East peace process. Chechnya was at war with Russia, reigniting post-Soviet unrest. Major events in the U.S. The Oklahoma City bombing on April 19th stunned the nation. The Million-Man March took place in Washington, D.C., bringing hundreds of thousands of black men together in a historic show of unity and purpose. The U.S. government shut down twice, first in November and again in December, due to a budget battle between President Clinton and Speaker Newt Gingrich. The internet was quietly changing the country. Netscape and eBay were booming, and Amazon was barely a year old. And through it all, Clinton governed with a pen and a vision. Some orders made headlines, others didn't, but many of them are still with us, shaping how we classify secrets, sanction rogue states, manage emergencies, and defend transparency. Because that's the thing about executive orders. They often outlive the press conference. They live in the institutions they strengthen or the freedoms they protect. Now it's time we zoom in. We're about to break down the top 10 executive orders of 1995, the most impactful, controversial, and enduring. Let's see which ones truly moved history. Next up, number 1. Number 10, Executive Order 12,963, Presidential Advisory Council on HIV/AIDS, signed June 14, 1995. What it did. This EO established a formal advisory council to provide recommendations on prevention, treatment, and care strategies related to HIV/AIDS. It ensured direct communication between public health experts, community leaders, and the president. Impact in 1995. At a time when AIDS was still heavily stigmatized, this order marked a major step toward destigmatizing the epidemic and coordinating a national response. It empowered marginalized communities to speak directly to policymakers. Lasting legacy. This council shaped decades of HIV policy and helped secure funding for research, treatment programs like Ryan White Care and education initiatives. It remains a model for how government can partner with activists in public health. Number 9, Executive Order 12,969, Federal Acquisition and Community Right to Know, signed August 8, 1995. What it did: required companies bidding on federal contracts to publicly report their toxic chemical emissions under the EPA's TRI, Toxics Release Inventory Program. Impact in 1995 linked transparency to taxpayer dollars. This EO made environmental disclosure a business requirement, especially for major defense and manufacturing contractors. Lasting legacy, it influenced modern environmental policy and procurement. It's a foundational precedent for today's climate-conscious federal acquisitions, including Biden-era green initiatives. Number 8, Executive Order 12,947, prohibiting transactions with terrorists who threaten the Middle East. Peace process. Signed January 23, 1995. What it did: this EO targeted terrorist organizations like Hamas and Hezbollah by freezing assets and prohibiting financial transactions involving U.S. persons or banks. Impact in 1995, a strong response to rising political violence against the Oslo peace process. It allowed the U.S. to act unilaterally when diplomatic tools were too slow. Lasting legacy. This EO set the framework for nearly every anti-terrorism sanctions regime that followed, including post-9/11 executive actions, Treasury watch lists, and global anti-financing campaigns. Number 7, Executive Order 12,954. Ensuring the economical and efficient administration and completion of federal government contracts, signed March 8, 1995. What it did: prohibited federal agencies from contracting with businesses that permanently replaced workers during a strike. Impact in 1995, a major pro-labor move from a centrist president. It aligned the executive branch with striking workers, reinforcing the right to collective bargaining. Lasting legacy. Though later blocked by courts, this EO remains symbolically important in debates about labor protections and federal spending ethics. Number 6, Executive Order 12,977, Interagency Security Committee, signed October 19, 1995. What it did: created a permanent interagency body to develop standards and coordinate security for all non-military federal buildings. Impact in 1995, signed in direct response to the Oklahoma City bombing. This EO acknowledged that domestic terrorism was a real threat and that federal buildings needed unified protection. Lasting legacy. The Interagency Security Committee still exists today and governs the physical security protocols for thousands of federal properties nationwide. Number 5, Executive Order 12,958. Classified National Security Information, signed April 17, 1995. What it did: established a new framework for classifying, declassifying, and safeguarding national security information, included mandatory declassification reviews and sunset timelines. Impact in 1995, a bold transparency move. It reduced overclassification and empowered historians, journalists, and watchdogs to access Cold War records. Lasting legacy, revised under George W. Bush and later Barack Obama, this EO remains the basis for today's classification declassification systems. Its ripple effects are felt in FOIA law and public trust in government secrecy. Number 4, Executive Order 12,968, Access to Classified Information, signed August 2nd, 1995, what it did. Updated and standardized procedures for how government employees are granted, reviewed, and monitored for security clearances. Impact in 1995. Addressed inconsistencies and vulnerabilities in the clearance system. Created uniform standards across agencies and expanded psychological, financial, and foreign influence reviews. Lasting legacy. This EO is foundational to the security clearance system still used today. It's regularly updated and cited in clearance reforms across administrations, including efforts to reduce clearance backlogs and insider threats. Number 3, Executive Order 12,981, Administration of Export Controls, signed December 5th, 1995. What it did, establish procedures for reviewing and controlling the export of dual-use technologies, items with both civilian and military applications. Impact in 1995. Streamlined how the U.S. regulated sensitive exports at a time when post-Cold War proliferation was a growing concern. Lasting legacy. Still a key tool in modern export enforcement, particularly with nations like China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. The structure has been expanded under both Bush and Biden to include semiconductors, drones, and cybersecurity tools. Number 2, Executive Order 12,959, prohibiting certain transactions with respect to Iran, signed May 6, 1995. What it did, banned nearly all U.S. trade with Iran, expanding upon earlier sanctions targeting its nuclear and terrorist activities. Impact in 1995. It was one of the strongest sanctions actions of the decade and came during escalating tensions between the U.S. and Iran. Lasting legacy, this EO became a pillar of American policy toward Iran for decades, influencing Obama's nuclear deal negotiations, Trump's withdrawal from the JCPOA, and Biden's current diplomatic efforts. Number 1, Executive Order 12,958, Classified National Security Information, highlighted again for impact and reach, signed April 17th, 1995. Why it's number 1? It fundamentally changed how the government manages secrecy, balancing the need for national security with the public's right to know. It mandated that classified information be automatically declassified after 25 years unless specifically exempted. Impact in 1995. Promoted government accountability, especially following Cold War secrecy excesses. Ongoing legacy. Still the benchmark for modern classification policy, echoed in current laws governing presidential records, FOIA disclosures, and oversight of intelligence agencies. Its influence spans both transparency advocates and national security agencies alike. Closing note. Each of these executive orders didn't just shape 1995, they shaped the future. Whether defending workers, deterring terrorism, or opening the vaults of government secrecy, President Clinton's pen proved mighty that year. Now, let's move forward.
Some write history with blood, some with laws, but the sharpest stroke comes from the pen. Executive power ain't just a tool, it's a weapon wielded by the few, affecting the many. They sign it, we live it. They order it, we obey it. Here, watching, digging, remembering. From the plantation to the proclamation, from internment camps to civil rights stands, from surveillance laws to student loan draws. Order can change your life, and you might not even know it, but now you do. So stay locked in, stay woke, stay sharp. We ain't just talking about power, we tracking it. Executive Order Watch, and we ain't blinking.